My name's Nate, and this is Heavy Pedal Garage. This is a channel where you can see this Firebird come back to life. It's a 1975 Firebird resto mod. We're putting all my favorite pieces from all the different models of Firebird from this second gen era on this thing. We've got Trans Am spoiler, we've got a Formula hood, it's got an original Esprit interior, so we're making this car great. So today I'm continuing the block sanding process. I'm working on some bits and pieces. Again, I'm hitting it with 400 and working my way towards 600. I'm doing some wet checking with that to make sure that all the wiggles and wobbles are worked out of it, and that final 600 wet should get me pretty close to paint. Let me show you what we're working on today. So in the previous videos I've been working on getting this thing blocked down. Getting pretty close on it. One more round of sanding, I hope. I've been saying that a bunch lately, but one more round of sanding on the car, 600 wet, and that ought to be ready. But what I'm focusing on now are all the little bits and pieces. So I've got out my 3-piece spoiler for the trunk, and I've been working on it. It's only had one round of primer on it, so it's a little rougher than the other pieces. Got it kind of cleaned up with a little bit of filler, and we'll reprime this and start moving towards 600 on it as well. But I also have this lower valence that needs some work. Again, this has only been primed once after test fitting. It's an aftermarket piece, so it did need some work. Go back and check out some of the previous videos and you'll see all the work that's gone into the metal to make this thing nice and straight, including body gaps and everything else. But this needed tweaked, and again, one round of primer on it. Found some spots, needed a little bit of filler. We'll block that down, get that all smoothed out, and hit this with primer at the same time as I do the spoiler pieces. Now, one of the exciting parts is I've been digging into the storage here, and I got my Trans Am pieces out for the fenders, the air extractors on the fenders. Those are getting a little bit of work. They'll get primed for the very first time. And I got some of my marker lights out and some trim emblems, really starting to think about some of that final fitment and what pieces need to be worked over. But the mirrors, I've got the adjustable driver side and passenger side right here, the cool teardrop shape. These, I haven't touched these yet, so these are going to get sanded and will probably, well, definitely need to be blocked out and then primed. So getting it going. I'm going to update you a little bit here as we move along with some of these parts and pieces, just to keep you posted on the progress of this car. Okay, so this lower valence, as I mentioned, has been primed one time after metal work. The texture in this is not real bad at all from the epoxy primer I was using. So I'm just going to start with 320. I know my primer does really well at 220 and finer when you're talking about scratches. So sanding this in 320 will be plenty for primer. I know I'm going to have to hit it again, so I'll just stop there. But one of the things I wanted to show you that I'm doing is I got this thin DuraBlock here. It's a little bit flexible, so it works well on these longer but slightly arched curves. But I take my regular, whatever it is, 3-inch piece of paper, and I cut it in half. I just put this paper on the block and then use my scissors to snip down the sides of it, and then I get 2 pieces of paper out of one, and they both fit this block. If this wasn't a panel that had a slight arch in it, I would attach the other piece to the back side, and then I can keep flipping it as I work along. So we're just going to break this down with 320 and get it ready for primer. So I'm just watching for those highs and lows to appear, letting the paper do the work, keeping an eye on it, make sure it doesn't get gummed up. Okay, so there you go. I just wanted to show you that spot there. I had a pretty good low spot there that I was working down, and I stopped right when I started to hit metal, but it turned out pretty good. I can't feel it, so it's just about right. I'm sure that'll all cover up when there's primer, the next round of primer put on it. But I just wanted to show you how well this epoxy CRE sands down. It's got a pretty decent build thickness to it, and you know, taking out imperfections like that's no big deal. So we'll get the rest of this brought down and show you where we're at when we're all done with all of this stuff. So I'm working on these mirrors, getting ready to sand them down. I just thought I'd show you. This one come apart pretty easy, but this driver's side where it's got the controls in it, it's got this big end here that basically is connected to those cables, and it slips through this hole on the bottom of this mount pretty easy. But this hole here was awfully tight, and there's no way this would be able to fish through. So I figured I better grind this out now and get it to where I can disassemble this. That way, if I ever have to replace this mechanism after the mirror is painted, I won't have to be hogging out that hole and trying to do, you know, some rough stuff with this thing in its final painted condition. So went ahead and got that taken care of, and now it just disassembles perfectly and it'll be ready to sand and paint. So I got my side marker lights all sanded down, got the plastic inserts all cleaned up, used a little bit of degreaser and dish soap. Got those looking good. I also got my other parts sanded, ready for primer. So the spoiler's looking pretty good. Air extractors, mirrors taken apart, ready to go. And I've actually got my spoiler mounted exactly how it will be on the back of the car. So basically I have my list here that I'm working on. This is my list of to-do on the way to paint. So as you can see here, guys, I've got a lot of this stuff crossed off, with the final deal being paint. So really, I need to prime these pieces that I just mounted to my stand. That'll happen probably later today. I also want to put black, the hot rod black, on the back bumper and bumperette. I'll get that sprayed out right after I get my garage cleaned and all that good stuff. That'll be the first part of painting. I'll put that hot rod black on after the garage is all cleaned, and then I'll be able to mask the hot rod black off on that bumper, so when I paint the Merlot Pearl, it'll all, you know, be good to go. So once all those pieces are primed, I can start with the final blocking. I really hope it's the final blocking. I think it will be, but we'll see. I'm gonna wet sand everything to 600. I've got the hood in my other garage. I'm gonna bring it out, get that knocked down, install it on the car to be painted. And then once everything is down to 600, I can work on the garage and get everything organized, cleaned, and prepped for the paint process. I'm gonna have to mask everything off, and then we're gonna be shooting paint. So stick around, guys. This will happen in the next few videos. I'm really hoping I can get this done before the colder weather comes. I want to get to the paint, and then this winter I can start reassembling the car, putting the interior pieces together, reupholstering seats, getting everything lined out. All right, here we go. Got them all cleaned off, ready to rock. If you want to see how these stands were put together and made, check out the last video. But let's get some primer on these and let's make them black. I've got a whole horde of parts in my other garage that's going to be going into this car. It's all new stuff. Stick around. I'm going to show you all of that. There'll be videos on everything. So thanks for stopping by, and catch me next time.